This morning is basically the final part, which is looking at the generation 3.0. If you remember yesterday, generation 1.0 was about technology and the economy, often in a very government-driven, top-down approach. The generation 2.0 is a very people-driven, bottom-up approach, which is driven by society and culture. I won't tell you what 3.0 is yet. What we need to do is just have a look at one lecture before we get to that, which sets the scene of some case studies on the importance of open space and greenery to allow people to interact. So, we will go straight to that. Now, you'll recall from yesterday that we've seen a move from the city of spaces to a city of objects. And we've seen yesterday that the open spaces that we once used to interact have been vanishing in lieu of the big air-conditioned boxes. Which are tall buildings, basically. And we also spoke about how we need to be bringing green open spaces into our cities for their social and environmental benefit. We were talking about alternative social spaces for the 21st century. That will be part of a broader strategy alongside the street and the square. Because what we're seeing is the diminishing forest of trees with a new concrete jungle, with more and more high density development taking place in cities. And whilst there have been some comments yesterday about how Kazakhstan has been blessed with lots of open space, every place on earth was like that once upon a time. And as economies flourish, land prices rise, developers seek to try and optimize the space, which gives rise to high density, high-rise development. And so what we need to do is look at the sky courts and sky gardens as a means of bringing open space back into the city. This is quite a short lecture because I've adapted this slightly so that we could also watch another episode in between the final lecture. And also you can think about Fukuoka. This is a remarkable building in the centre of Fukuoka city in Japan. And what is remarkable is that this used to be a park. It used to be a big central park and a civic administration office and a commercial office had to occupy this space. So the architect, rather than just ripping out lots of parks and trees, placed it on. Think of the park like a giant carpet. He's lifted the carpet and he's pushed this building underneath. This is what the architect said. Each terrace floor contains an array of gardens. For meditation, relaxation, and escape from the congestion of the city. While the top terrace becomes a grand belvedere of grand space. Providing an incomparable view of the Bay of Fukuoka and the surrounding mountains. You see, having park space on the ground is great, but then also to provide it in the sky is also good, because you get a wonderful view. So this was the space of the park, and basically he's inserted the building so we have a very large complex which has auditorium, atrium, commercial offices, civic administration offices, retail, food and beverage facilities. So the design is effective in the optimization of the buildable site area, balanced with the public need for open space. It's a very lightweight construction as well. Basically, the green terraces are inclined, and basically it's made out of soil and foam material, which is only 600 millimeters, which makes it a very lightweight construction. The stepped terraces extend beyond its site and create a green connection to the neighbouring park. So it becomes a vertical park. And it becomes a noticeable landmark for the city. The terraces contain 37,000 plants from 76 species. Changes with the seasons, enhancing the building's aesthetic appeal. So during the 12 months of the year, you get a really wonderful array of different colours. And I think this could provide a unique opportunity for a style as well. portability. Number 2 is the flexibility to buy 1 or 2 or 3 units and merge them into a bigger home. The third is low maintenance, because if you have a home on the ground, you're going to have to take care of the gardens and the open spaces. But if you're in an apartment, the management of the apartment will be done by a company. And the final selling point is people's need for recreation and amenity. In the Philippines, we're finding that now people are given a choice between home and an apartment. People would rather have an apartment because they get a swimming pool, tennis courts, gymnasium, retail, food and beverage. Those amenities enhance their lifestyle, their productivity, their quality of life. This is exactly what we see in the linked hybrid. This is what the architect said. In addition to apartments, the complex includes public, commercial, and recreational facilities, as well as a hotel and school. The site runs around, over, and through these spatial layers. It's like a city within a city, and can support all the activities and programs for the daily lives of over 2,500 people. I would say that with the migration to city centres, mixed use, compact development with uses like this, residential, retail, office, hotel. These are economically sustainable because in the case of a slowing market or a downgrading of the market, you have other uses to be able to support you. What's very interesting about this hybrid is that it is a hybrid between low-rise land development and high-rise tower development to create this very interesting relationship. The bridge links that connect all the towers then provide an ease of movement for people visiting their neighbours, meeting new people, without having to go down to the ground. And these link bridges are also the place of recreation. Some of these bridges contain amphitheatres, plants go vertically, going from one building that's a hybrid structure to now a tower structure that is using greenery as a shading device. This is very useful in temperate climate zones where you've got extreme summers and extreme winters. This is what the architect said. In the same way that green elements are increasingly involved in the redesign of public spaces in our cities, plants are now becoming materials and elements in a rethinking of the facade, where performance must be optimized in terms of energy saving. He's basically saying that he wants to use the plants as an energy saving device. And he's creating a vertical forest. So the projecting balconies that are attached to this residential tower serve as a garden in the sky for the family. Each family's house in the sky has a garden. But the facade of glass has been downgraded, the glass has been simplified with the view to the garden space becoming an environmental filter. Reducing temperatures, providing shade, absorbing pollution, and absorbing rainwater. You can see here that you've got these balcony spaces with 20,000 different types of plants, 700 types of trees, 2,500 bushes, and 9,000 herbaceous plants. And what we get is a very interesting palette with the different shapes of the plants that has an environmental shading element. The planting assists in balancing the microclimate and acts as a dust filter. And these planter boxes are about 900 millimeters, this way, which will allow you to be able to plant a small tree of 1.5 meters. 900 millimeters. Yeah. So you build it up to 900 millimeters of soil. You plant a tree to 1.5 meters, or 2 meters at the most. And there are different types of planter box. 900, and then a shorter one. The shorter one has bushes, because they do not need so much soil. With the slightly higher planter box, you can plant trees. The species of tree, they do not exceed higher than 1.8 meters. tree, and then you can crane it into place and plant it. Once a month, somebody comes around and trims the tree, trims the bushes. In the summertime, all the trees are in full bloom. It acts as a barrier to the sun, providing shade, providing a wonderful smell, and it's beautiful to look at. In the winter, when you need the sun to be heating up your apartment, trees naturally shed their leaves, so the sun comes in naturally. This is a building that we're designing in Manila. This is a very old photograph. In front of this is Trump Tower now. That was before he became the President of the United States. So we don't talk about him anymore. The curvilinear arrangement of Gramercy Park's greenery was abstracted to define curvilinear layouts of foliated green wall and planters. Indigenous species of plants were used to clad the walls. To create a hanging garden. So, in this scheme, the recreational space takes place on the 44th floor. And we had a series of planter pots, 150 millimeters by 150 millimeters. And these were arranged on the wall with these drip feeds for water, and by planting this it allows us to create these vertical green walls that will be the tallest in the Philippines. This provides shade, reduces the airflow, because in the Philippines wind speeds are very high, absorbs noxious pollutants, brings in more biodiversity, and provides an interesting space for people to enjoy. This sky court has a range of different facilities and amenities. So within the middle of the tower you've got a gymnasium, swimming pool, theatre, retail, restaurant, a whole range of facilities. One central park. This is in Australia, and the architect said a vertical landscape designed in collaboration with French botanist and artist Patrick Locke. And this facade covers, the greenery covers 50% of the facade. landscape extends the planted area from the adjacent urban park vertically into the building. So the park on the ground then steps up into the building. To create a 100-meter high sky garden. What this gives you is a chance to create some very interesting types of vegetation, to create a constantly changing green wall. And the heliostat serves to redirect the sunlight. This is also particularly important for the areas within the city where you're struggling to get natural light down to the street. So this heliostat is like a giant mirror, and it extends out from the upper levels to create a structure that bounces light deeper inside the building. These are fixed and motorized mirrored panels designed to capture sunlight and redirect it into the retail atrium and onto the landscape terraces that are not receiving as much light as they should be having. All of these plants have a hydroponic irrigation system, meaning there are tiny little pipes that drip water into the pots in order to allow the greenery to grow. So I hope that gives you an understanding of the different ways of being able to incorporate urban greenery in order to highlight the benefits, not just for man's benefit, but also the built environment and also the natural environment. What we can see also is that the usage of greenery incorporated into the spaces can vary. %13.3% for across, 17% for link hybrid, 25% for Bosco verticale, 4.5% for Gramercy, and 2.6% for Central Park. There is no fixed rule as to how much greenery or open space to incorporate. Because as you remember from one of my previous lectures, density is all about perception. Which leads me now to the vertical urban theory. What we can see is that the first principle is form follows follows function, object follows space in this new hybrid. What we're finding is that buildings are incorporating open spaces for social immunity. I'd like you to think about a city and the open spaces that you find within the city. Think of your tall building turning 90 degrees. The open spaces that you see on the floor, you can be incorporating within. Second principle. Mixed use becomes mixed up vertical use. So, in the 20th century planning, you can walk along the street, there'll be office, retail, residential, separated horizontally. But as you increase high density development in expensive city areas, you'll find that these functions might step one above the other. And yes, you have lots of land now, but look at Shanghai. 30 years ago, the Pudong area of Shanghai was flat with farmland, farmhouses. But look at Shanghai today. High-rise, mixed-use structures with high land prices. So if this is our traditional city, different function uses in different buildings, when part of the city's land value increases and developers seek to try and get as much real estate as possible out of the site, you may want to consider different uses. The third principle, movement is the social gel. Movement is what brings people together. So think about alternative ways of being able to move through the city. Not just on the ground, but via sky bridges or other forms of access via elevators, lifts, underpasses. Technological core principle, technological and technical considerations. Think about the ways that we can be looking at structures over existing buildings to exploit. There are structures that might have structural capacity to be able to extend higher, rather than knocking down the building. So you can be increasing the density in parts of the city by almost topping up. Fifth principle, greening out urban habitat via more measurable means. By bringing rooftop gardens and gardens, we can be reducing temperatures, improving insulation, celebrate our city by bringing in observation decks, sky bars, sky restaurants. These can be income-generating opportunities for your city and can promote tourism and leisure. Thank you. Any questions?
I have one personal question about this kind of constructions. What should people do with allergies, for example? Allergies, for example. Yeah, my father, for example, has an allergy for the grasses. And I love the idea of living in such constructions with a lot of grasses because there are a lot of advantages of that. But there are a lot of people who have some problems with like breathing, where there are a lot of these flowers and other things. What should they do?
Well, I suffer from hay fever. So when I'm in the UK, every summertime I get these sneezing fits because of the pollen. But I think if you were to kind of do an assessment, you'll find that more people suffer from building sickness syndrome, from asthma and other breathing-related difficulties due to nitrates and pollutants in the atmosphere. And the likelihood is that people will have more physiological and psychological issues without planting than with planting. So, yeah, the people with hay fever like me have to put up with it. But the greater good is that by putting in planting, you're removing a lot of noxious pollutants that are more harmful for people's breathing. A city with no greenery has potentially 60 to 80,000 dust particles per litre. A city with greenery has 15,000 dust particles per litre. I hope that answers the question. Thank you. Right. Mr. Dubai.
Добрый день, спасибо огромное за вашу лекцию. Хотел уточнить, вот мои коллеги со мной согласятся, мы вчера обсуждали этот вопрос. Для нас понятие самого умного города это больше связано с высокими технологиями. Послушав вашу лекцию, мы понимаем, что больше и возникает вопрос. Господин Джеймс Померой, кто он? Архитектор, журналист? Как вы сами представляете само по себе понятие умного города?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you. In my opinion, a smart city is a city that embraces technology sparingly. It's not just about the technology. It's a city that enhances people's lives by ensuring that the government, the private sector, academia, and civil society all work together to create a better city. I'm going to draw a diagram. Smart city for me is an extension of what the city used to be. Civil society, people, citizens, and the state. The most successful cities in the overlap, where civil society say, this is what I want from my city. I want to be able to live freely. I want to be able to make money. I want to see the profitability of my company grow. I want to live in a safe and comfortable environment where there's education. I want to be able to move easily through the city, whether that's by public transport or my car. And the state would basically say, okay, but with particular rules and regulations. Particular policies will be in place to ensure that these things can happen. Then it's pushing and pulling. A negotiation. And people put pressure on the state, and the state push back. Competition, that healthy tension, creates very creative, forward-looking cities. Back to your question. To get to a smart city, we overlap with academia, and the private sector. This is how it enhances people's lives. Civil society in the smart city want to be able to use technology where it's going to be of benefit to them. I want to build a new smart app. I want to build a new company that is focused on financial technologies. I want to build a new high-tech product like a drone. And the state supports my ideas. The state gives me think tanks and laboratories to test my ideas. Academia test those ideas, support those ideas, help the city and its people shape those ideas. The private sector, multinational corporations or small companies, they believe in those ideas. They share that passion. They can see how those technologies and those creative entrepreneurs can help the city and improve the city. They are willing to invest their money into these companies for the local economy of the city and also the national economy. and then the state support by policy to make that happen. When all of these four come together, that's when you get a smart city. That's my view of a smart city. Any other questions?
Доброе утро. Интересны были приведены примеры озеленения, вертикального озеленения городов. Да? Очень красиво, интересно, но абсолютно мало применимо для большей части Казахстана. Вы видите, у нас до сих пор лежит снег, но это, с одной стороны, красиво, с другой стороны, кроме того, что это радует глаз, это полезно. Есть ли какие-то примеры в северных странах, с похожим климатом, которые бы улучшали ландшафт города?
Absolutely. What we're seeing here is examples from different climatic regions. But I have to disagree, because Japan has a very similar climatic condition to you. You actually do have winters, very harsh winters, and also very harsh summers. And the Acros building is actually perfectly suited for this climate. Greenery isn't just about reducing temperatures. You've got to bear in mind that greenery has a substrate of soil. Soil acts as an insulator. An insulator can keep a place warm. So, by thinking about Japan, which has hot summers, cold winters, snow, granted it's not 6 months of the year, but it's snow for 3 months of the year, it's acting as an environmental buffer and filter to drive down the operating costs of the building or the city. I would also recommend looking at Germany and Denmark. Temperate climate zones, high quantum of snow, and green roofs have actually been made a policy in those countries. If you're building a new residence, you have to put in a green roof. Canada, Toronto, Ottawa, they have also legislated green roofs. Incredibly harsh winters. Ottawa is one of the coldest in the world. Green roofs. The final point. People think that green roofs leak. Concrete roofs leak more, because you've basically got one barrier over a concrete roof, a membrane. When you're adding in soil and greenery above that membrane, you're adding in a further layer of protection. The water that's absorbed by the soil helps to irrigate the plants, giving life to the plants, meaning that the water is not just sitting on the membrane, it's being absorbed, which actually helps the protection of the roof. So there are technical, environmental and social considerations there that are highly applicable to a country like Kazakhstan with its broad-ranging temperatures. I hope that answers.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Any other questions? Hello.
Добрый день. Вчера в Кемерово случился такой тяжелый случай. Пожар произошел. Погибли 64 человека. В основном это дети. Это произошло потому, что здание кинотеатра было расположено на самом верхнем этаже. В Кемерово живут 2 миллиона жителей. В советское время кинотеатры строились, и общественные места строились на первом этаже, или даже отдельно. А там ориентировались на европейские стандарты и стали строить кинотеатры на самых верхних этажах. Оправдано ли строить, например, общественные места, скажем, рестораны, как вы говорите, на самых верхних этажах с целью получения прибыли?
No, there isn't. We have 6.5 billion people living on this earth. By 2050, it's going to be 9.5 billion people. If you consider the number of buildings that are kind of on this earth, we're taking one example here, which is a very unfortunate incident. I think what we need to do is actually evaluate the health and safety and the construction of that building. If there was ample means of fire escape, and if there were alternative means of escape via sky bridges to others, and if the building was constructed in fire retardant material and there were appropriate actions to be able to fight the fire, then it's basically meeting standards that would not put human lives at risk. I personally wouldn't put a cinema on a roof. And that's only because the amount of traffic that passes through a cinema is quite significant. I would far rather be locating a cinema on the first or second floor, near retail, near food and beverage, in order to capture more footfall, to encourage more people to go to the cinema. But I still think that the restaurant and observation deck, they're places at the rooftop in order to be able to enjoy views. And to also be able to, with the enjoyment of views, charge a premium, a higher premium. The key is definitely ensuring that there is not only an ease of movement to get there, but also an ease of movement to move away from there. Let me give you an example. The Petronas Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur. There is a sky court with a mid-level observation deck with restaurants. You can escape across the sky bridge as an alternative means of escape. So you can use the staircases to go down, but you can also be escaping to another building, the adjacent building. Post 9/11, high-rise structures have changed in terms of their firefighting design. Once upon a time we had phased evacuation. You'd be escaping from maybe 6 floors, escaping down to the following 6, to the following 6, in phases. But what we can see is this terrible situation like in Grenfell Towers in London recently, where you need mass evacuation. What that means is that you may need to make the staircases bigger, but if you make the staircases bigger, you lose the net to gross efficiency of your building. So developers have to accept the fact that core spaces might get slightly bigger. Lifts, escalators, WCs, the core area. An alternative is then to be able to escape into adjacent buildings via sky bridges. You escape from one across a bridge to a rooftop or to another building. So I hope that answers your question. Спасибо. Any other questions? Okay. Well, it's slightly earlier. I think we were meant to be finishing at 10:20. So why don't we go for a coffee break now? If that's okay. If you have any questions, more questions, please come and see me. And then we'll start lecture 3, and then we'll play the episode, the final episode on Amsterdam. Okay. Sorry. Yes.
Пожалуйста, уважаемые коллеги, в 10:20, тогда мы возвращаемся с кофе-брейка. Начинаем вторую сессию совещания.
a pleasure knowing you all, even if it's just been for 1.5 days. And I do hope that we will somehow, in some shape or form, keep in contact. I'm going to let you into a bit of a secret. So I will probably be doing a TV show in Kazakhstan. So my show called City Time Traveller, which goes around 18 different Asian cities. I basically look at the culture of the place and the architecture of the place, and I get to meet people, and I get to eat their food as well. And in my experience of Kazakhstan so far, the food has been so amazing, the people have been so friendly, and the architecture of the place is so interesting, I have to come back. So I'm going to be filming in 3 cities: Astana, Almaty, and Turkestan, I hope. So if you have any ideas on which particular buildings you think I should be visiting, you should think I'm visiting, please come up to me afterwards and let me know. Because this is a learning experience for me as well. I've already shortlisted 4 buildings in Astana, and I'm looking forward to trying to shortlist 4 buildings in Pakistan. Okay. This is the final lecture, and it is the Generation 3.0. What I hope you'll see from this is the impact of academia and the private sector. The first one is Barcelona. Barcelona is quite a remarkable city of heritage. It's a city of reinvention. When I think of Barcelona, I think of the architecture of Antoni Gaudi. I think of 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. But I also think of the golden boots of Lionel Messi. But what we've also got to bear in mind is that once upon a time there was a dictatorship, the General Franco. The city was ruined almost, and had to reinvent itself as a tourism destination. Because when General Franco passed away, the country's economy was in ruin. So they kind of looked at Barcelona as a catalyst for the country's economic growth. Today, Barcelona has 8 million tourists annually. But it wasn't always sunny and rosy. After the wonderful Barcelona Olympics, after all of these festivities and events that saw the transformation of Barcelona as a heritage centre as well as a tourism destination, the financial crisis completely removed all of that from us. In 2008, 4 million people were jobless, and unemployment exceeded 25%. It was effectively an economic meltdown. So, what we can see is that there was a real need to try and reinvigorate Barcelona and therefore Spain's economy. How was it going to deal with this unemployment and its housing woes? And how could they turn a crisis into an opportunity? For me, Barcelona represents the quintessential smart city. What we see in Barcelona is the importance of trying to break down individual silos. Basically, cities and city governments has a tendency to separate groups into silos or into boxes. Planning authorities, building authorities, environmental agencies that do not necessarily talk to each other. So Barcelona used to be a first-generation smart city in, number one, trying to embrace technology to help reduce the operating costs and the running costs of the city. Particularly important given the financial crisis and they had no money. And while they were doing that, they also wanted to try and ensure that the environment, energy, and mobility were working together to try and reduce the costs of the city. So, the smart city view of Barcelona was very much one of trying to save money after the financial crisis. So that meant looking at technology, and in particular multinational companies lending their technology to try and help enhance the productivity and reduce the consumption of the city. So this meant public infrastructure, integrating Wi-Fi networks, and also consideration for sensors for parking, LED lighting that would be more energy efficient, also smart city ideas by looking at the city as a living laboratory for various multinational companies to test their ideas. Put yourself in their shoes. You as an administration has no money. conversations with multinational corporations that are willing to collaborate with you on new ideas like electric vehicles, LED lighting and sensors, and waste management systems that are all trying to save money in the city in order for you to recover out of the financial crisis. Ultimately, the smart city for Barcelona was about economic sustainability. But what happens when you see so much of this technology start to break, start to falter, become not so financially feasible in terms of a rollout strategy across the whole city? Residents start to question the Smart City program. So think about it. The government top-down approach, technology and economy and trying to save money. What happens after the generation 1.0? People react. The generation 2.0. The generation 2.0. They react. And they push up from the ground, the bottom up. A reaction to the top down. So there was a change in government. A new mayor came in called AGU, and her view was to basically rethink the smart city. Barcelona went from a 1.0 technology economy focused to a 2.0 with a people's reaction, and then AGU comes along to focus on the long vision of empowering the people and becoming self-sufficient. So one of the primary efforts that she implemented was a new urban model for the city called the Superblock. This octagonal layout by Cerdà in the 19th century occupies a very large part of Barcelona. These octagonal blocks have courtyards in the middle, and they have chamfered corners, which allows for views onto the street, but also social spaces in the middle of the blocks, and it provides natural light and ventilation to every block. It was an incredibly effective urban model for the 19th century, and provided a lot of ease of movement for the people and the horse-drawn carriage. But when it comes to automobiles and buses and the pressure of 21st century developments, all of a sudden these roads became very, very, very congested. So each superblock covers 400 by 400 meters, and its interior streets allows for a new transformation of open spaces and activities for citizens. So these are the octagonal blocks that you see. And the super block basically takes 3 blocks to the north and 3 blocks to the east, so 9 blocks in total. All of the internal streets then become pedestrianised with new social green spaces. This helps take the cars off the street, and cars just drive around the perimeter of those blocks. And there is an enhanced electric bus service. The super block started in 1993 in Elbourne. So you can see the pedestrianised areas. With the implementation of the super block, the city was transformed into a lively, dynamic and attractive environment for residents and tourists. But the super block project is not a standalone effort. It's part of a comprehensive programme to transform urban mobility in Barcelona. So just think, what you see at the top is the road network of Eixample. The Eixample is the master plan by Cerdà. And you can see how many streets there were, and you can imagine how crazy the road network was. 900 kilometres worth of road. But today, the network of streets has been reduced to 355 kilometres of road. So a remarkable transformation. Improvement in air quality, reduction in noise levels, more pedestrian-friendly road space. All by simply reorientating the traffic infrastructure, but not creating more roads. We also see that there is citizen co-creation. In this third generation of smart city, we see Fab Labs. Fab Labs are these buildings filled with people who are creative, energetic, and share a passion for sharing knowledge, innovation, and education. So these activities range from research on robotic fabrication or sustainable housing through to digital modelling software, with the emphasis on sharing ideas so that people and their talent can be retained in the city in order to try and enhance the local as well as the national economy. You could argue that it's almost like a high-tech medieval age. Where the people have the capacity of production to create their own products and apply for others in the city. So what makes Barcelona a city? I would basically say it is that 3.0 element where you have state originally setting out an infrastructure to try and reduce consumption with civil society pushing back to say we need a cleaner, smarter, greener city, which is aided by academia and the private sector. Amsterdam. Amsterdam is home to 1.1 million people. And I guess it's the cool kid of smart cities. I guess it's one of those pretty fun, energetic cities that all the other cities want to be. What we can see here, remarkable growth of technology, but at the same time, a sensitivity to culture. For example, it had free Wi-Fis, where you get free Wi-Fi when the air quality improves. So there are sensors in the city that monitor the air quality. And so when the air quality reaches that clean level that everybody expects, you get free Wi-Fi everywhere. When you don't have that good air quality, people get upset, push back at the government because they're not getting their free Wi-Fi. I would say that's a pretty cool idea. There is also a solar coalition, a collaborative effort to install solar panels in the interest of moving away from fossil fuels to embrace renewable energy sources to offset local demand. 850,000 panels have so far been incorporated to the rooftops of buildings in Amsterdam. They have embraced, and one classic example is the Amsterdam Arena, the home of Ajax, which is a carbon neutral building. You'll remember from my first lecture that a carbon neutral building or a carbon zero building is a super energy efficient building that reduces energy and water consumption, and the water consumption and energy consumption that is being consumed is offset by renewable energy sources. To create a zero carbon position. So Amsterdam Arena is a bi-directional form of energy generation that uses wind energy as well as solar panels. It has 4,100 rooftop solar panels that generate 930 kilowatt hours of energy. 10% of the stadium's annual electricity annual consumption. Renewable wind energy from a wind farm generates the other 90%. So a super energy efficient building that uses district heating local power grid. It can basically draw energy from the grid. But given its zero carbon position, it offsets the drawn energy with its energy that is being generated from the renewable source. It could also supply power to the surrounding neighbourhood if the demand rises. A bit like Higashi Matsushima, where the batteries store the energy, it provides a backup source. This building's the edge. Another smart and highly sustainable building. It's a smart development that, given the temperate climate zone, and the large amount of sun that can penetrate on the east and the west, and particularly pertinent also for the territory that we're in here. You can use art as a means of energy generation. So solar panels line the exterior of this building and generate enough energy to meet the demands of the office worker. The building also features rainwater harvesting systems that is used for flushing the toilets. Let's think about the inside of this building. The home is a consultant firm, basically. It's home to a consultant firm. And this building knows what car the workers drive. When they enter the building, and how they like to set up their workspace. People have a smart tablet or phone that is connected to the office, so it remembers all of your needs and requirements. It will remember if you like an espresso. It will remember if you like a latte. It will remember if you like a cappuccino. It will remember your temperature settings within your office. So, employers are connected to the building via this app that allows them to customize everything. So, when you step into your office, it will adjust to your and lighting setting. Now, this isn't actually rocket science. In fact, with building automation systems as they are, we should be able to control our office environment ourselves. Because this can actually help reduce our energy and water consumption. But for me, one of the most fascinating things about Amsterdam is the fact that 50% of it is actually related to water. Now, they've got some far-reaching claims also of carbon emissions as well as water. With an intention to reduce water and more sustainable forms of development. Because land prices in central Amsterdam are so high, alternative forms of urbanisation are being considered. One of them is to look at existing docks, existing ports, existing shipyards, to see if the surface of the water can be a place for new homes and offices. This is Heidelberg in Amsterdam. It contains 186 floating homes on the water. All the houses are built on concrete tanks floating beneath the surface. And are effectively 3-story. This is the basement floating on the water, and these are the 2 stories above. These homes are also supplied with services such as sewage, electricity, natural gas, cable television, internet, all the basic needs for every household from a jetty. The jetty basically connects to the mainland. So what's interesting is that they've looked at the water as an alternative means of development, and with climate change and the rising levels of seawater, these buildings can react positively to climate change issues. Basically, they can rise up with the rising levels of the water. They are addressing the flood risk in incredible ways. With 50% of Amsterdam being water, but the flood risk is never far away. So the Amsterdam Rainproof Programme considers on this green roof, water is collected in a crate system, hidden beneath the greenery. Retaining water for the plants, can also keep the roof cool, and it can also be emptied when the rainfall is expected. People can also grow vegetables and fruits up here. I like beer. So at 8:14 when I was filming here, I ended up drinking some beer. But it was an interesting beer because it was made from rainwater. They call it Sparta, or heaven's water. It's a great example of another idea, a smart idea, one of many that takes place in Amsterdam, that embraces the circular economy. You see, with a circular economy, you have no waste. circular economy basically has the ability to create a product, and all of the byproducts, the first product that you're creating, is used for other products. So in the case of the beer, wheat is down and the filtered rainwater. After bringing it to the boil, hops is added to impart this bitter taste. The beer is then chilled with yeast for 3 weeks. Fermentation tanks. I can tell you, it tastes exactly the same. It was very good. Now, what's interesting about the byproducts is that all of the byproducts could be used for something else. For instance, the wheat, hops, that could be used as animal feed for livestock. So nothing is wasted. So what makes Amsterdam a smart city? It's their ability to work with water. And to work with water in such a way that turns a negative element from climate change, and in particular the rising sea levels, into a positive element. Whether it is using green roofs to absorb rainwater, to irrigate plants, or to be using rainwater to make products like beer in a circular economy, using water for district cooling, or even using water as a surface area that can be used for urbanization. They have nurtured local talents from very bright individuals to kind of solve some of those urban challenges that we face today. So, in summary, for all of these lectures, these are the takeaways that I'd like you to consider. Smart City 1.0 is about the technology. It's about the technology enhancing and enhance people's lives. But it is very much driven by the government. Like Song, like Shenzhen. But the Smart City 2.0 is a reaction to the 1.0. It acknowledges the importance of people and their culture, and it's often a bottom-up approach for the people to say back to the government, this is what we need. This is what we expect to enhance our lives as well as our livelihoods. Like it in Dole, like it in Higashi Matsushima. The 3.0 is a combination of both. A top-down, government-driven position state, civil society, academia, and private sector. Work holistically together to try and improve the city. It acknowledges the importance of the environment, especially in relation to climate change issues and the Paris Accord, COP21. But at the same time, the importance of space for people's social interaction and the livable, lovable elements that expect of a city. That is our Amsterdam as we see Barcelona. I would argue that you need these layers to create your smart city. If you just take one layer, like the bread, it's pretty boring. I don't have anything against vegetarians. But if you just have lettuce, pretty boring. Boring, yeah. But if you bring everything together, pretty damn tasty. A bit like your shashlik. And I think that if you can bring these layers together, it makes for a very enriching, flavourful burger city. Any questions? So we're doing well for time. This bit will be coming to an end at 12 o'clock. So what we will do now is play the Amsterdam episode, and then we'll have final questions and answers. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah? Cool.
last 7 episodes, I visited some remarkable smart cities from around the world. In Matsushima, Japan, smartness means local energy independence. In Bandung, Indonesia, it's about harnessing the power of social media from top down to bottom up, to citizen focused. One of these cities has shown me a different facet of the smart city. And now I'm here in the capital of the Netherlands, Amsterdam.
So what makes this little city with about 1 million people so smart? Is it the technology, the infrastructure, or a liberal attitude? And what can other cities learn in their quest to embrace 21st century technology and infrastructure from Amsterdam? I'm Jason Pomeroy, and I'm an architect, academic and urban planner, and I'm here to find out.
capital of constantly trying out new technologies to improve the life, sometimes in ways that you least expect it. Goedemiddag.
Nice to meet you. Goedemiddag.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Welcome. Oh, that's it's called tree Wi-Fi.
Free Wi-Fi.
It's actually a really nice technology. It's when the air quality improves, you actually get free Wi-Fi.
Oh.
So it's quite fun, and it also demonstrates really well how we can use technology in a different way.
Maaike Oshik is the communications manager at Amsterdam Smart City, an initiative by the Amsterdam Economic Board.
And Amsterdam Smart City is actually public-private partnership in which we connect businesses, the city government, knowledge institutions, but also smart citizens to come up with ideas and solutions for urban challenges. Because there are so many good initiatives already out there and companies with great solutions. The city has its own programs and we try to enforce this and to accelerate this.
So you're real catalysts for new ideas. You're keeping the city moving with these bright ideas. Tell me a few examples of those.
A nice example, it's called the Sun Coalition. Solar technology has been there for 2 or 3 decades, but why aren't all the roofs full of solar panels already? So all these companies involved in this process came together a year ago and they said, why not organize this together? They are now aiming to have 1 solar panel installed by the end of this year for every citizen in Amsterdam, so that means 850,000 solar panels. And that's really an ambitious project, but the collaboration is key. It's not about the technology actually, it's about the collaboration.
Now what I'd like to find out is just how far-reaching this collaboration goes, and I know just the person who has some answers. My friend from MIT's Sensible City Lab, Carlo Ratti.
Hi Carlo.
Hi Jason.
What do you think of Amsterdam's approach to being a smart city?
What I like very much about Amsterdam's approach is including universities, engaging TU Delft, Wageningen and MIT in order to think together about what smart city means.
So, are you having any collaborations with any of those universities?
You know, we've been collaborating with the city of Amsterdam for a few years. In the city center of Amsterdam, you don't have big streets, but you got amazing canals. And so we started thinking about, what about using autonomous self-driving boats in the canals? You could use them to move people, to move goods, but also to sense the city, air quality, water quality, and also think about like a flexible, dynamic infrastructure. Think about all these different pieces coming together to create a temporary bridge or a temporary flat platform. Basically, creating a new type of responsive system in the city.
That's great, Carlo. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Currently in the prototyping phase, the Rowboat project is a research collaboration between MIT and AMS, the Amsterdam Institute for Advanced Metropolitan Solutions. And it's just one of many smart city initiatives that is being tested, according to the man who runs the AMS, Professor Arjen van Timmeren.
It's really amazing to have such a team of academia behind us, with the top-notch universities in the world, but also large companies like industries like Shell, public authorities like Waternet and IBM, Cisco Systems, a lot of companies which really make a difference nowadays in approaches towards smart cities.
So it's not just about academia, it's also large multinational corporations and civil society coming together on a common platform to forge strong ideas to create smart cities.
Indeed. I think this integrated approach is actually the only way to address complex problems cities are facing nowadays.
So what are the complex problems that Amsterdam faces today, and what's the integrated approach to solve it? I find out after the break.
Amsterdam's train network has been running on wind energy since January 2017, and I certainly get the sense that sustainability is a very important byword in Amsterdam.
Now, the biggest consumers of energy in Amsterdam are buildings. As much as 70% of the energy consumed in the city is used by buildings for heating and electricity. But things are changing. to AFC Ajax Football Club, Amsterdam Arena is the largest stadium in the whole of the Netherlands, and yet since 2015, it's completely carbon neutral. Football is big business in Holland. But how do you ensure that a facility like this, that could be a big gas-guzzling behemoth, is sustainable, is smart? For starters, it has the second largest solar rooftop in the whole country. 4,200 solar panels generate 930,000 kilowatt hours. This is about 10% of the stadium's annual electricity energy consumption. The other 90% comes from another renewable source, wind energy from the Oudendijk wind farm. The Amsterdam Arena is also extremely energy efficient. It uses district heating from the nearby city of Diemen for heating and cold water from a nearby small lake for cooling. Driven by its ambition to be a showroom for sustainable innovation, the stadium has also tested pilot projects like seats made entirely out of sugarcane. And now, Chief Innovation Officer Henk van Raan tells me about one of the stadium's latest energy projects.
If you look at the renewables energy, what we try to achieve here is that we creating a huge battery and use the second life batteries from the Nissan Leaf cars.
When it comes to recycling, this place is constantly pushing the envelope. 280 used batteries from Nissan Leaf electric cars are repurposed as a backup power source for the stadium. The system draws energy from the grid whenever required and can store and distribute power as needed. This translates into a reduced reliance on diesel generators, which are more polluting. And because the arena is connected to the local power grid, it can also supply power to the surrounding neighbourhood if the need arises.
So basically, your stadium is a giant power station that's supporting the national grid, providing energy as to when the people of Amsterdam need it.
Exactly. So we can give the energy used by ourselves, but we can also give it to our neighbors. So this is, let's say, the new world, the new grid, and the transition from the old world to the new world. And it gives us also the opportunity to create new business models. For instance, if you can imagine if let's say 10% of the citizens have an electric car, and they come here and they park their car, we can even say to them, do you want to that we give you energy, or do you give us energy? So they be part of the grid.
Now, Amsterdam Arena is impressive, but it isn't the only green building in town. Just 10 kilometers away, you'll find The Edge, a smart office space that sits right on the cutting edge of sustainable innovation.
And what I see from the outside is a plethora of solar panels that generates enough energy to offset the demands of the office workers. But surely there must be more to being a green office building than just solar panels and rainwater harvesting. What about the social dimension? I'm here to find out.
Home to consulting firm Deloitte, this building knows what car you drive, when you enter the building, and just how you like your workspace set up.
So this is the meeting room on the 7th floor.
Is this where you normally work, or is this
well, it's
just today?
One of the places where I normally work.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we think about typical office environments, it's kind of like one temperature setting and one light setting, which is not necessarily the most sustainable. So this app allows you to comfort control your environment.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
We are able to change the intensity of the lights and also change temperature.
Every employee is connected to the building via an app on their smartphone. This app allows them to customize the temperature and light levels wherever they choose to work. It also tracks their energy usage, so they're aware of their consumption, and even tells coffee machines how their owners like their coffee. Brainy buildings like The Edge and the Amsterdam Arena not only showcase one possible future of a smart workplace, they are also building blocks for Amsterdam's post-fossil fuel future. By 2025, the city plans to reduce its CO2 emissions by 40%, and by the year 2040, the target is a 75% reduction. After the break, I find out how far the city is willing to go in its quest to become more sustainable.
streets of Amsterdam, one can think tulips, narrow merchant houses, canals, and therefore water. Actually, water everywhere. In fact, 50% of Amsterdam is made up of water, and the Netherlands actually means low countries. 2 meters below sea level, in fact. So I'm here in Hilberg, which is quite a remarkable case study to how one can live on water.
It's in shipyard just 65 kilometers, then towed by tugboats to this neighborhood, which is in fact a bay. Developed to help combat overcrowding in the city, this floating community turns the traditional Dutch enemy of water into an ally.
We need water to keep our feet dry.
Absolutely.
We use it now as a building ground. Also, looking into the future, we all know that the sea level is rising.
Yes.
We're getting more and more water from our rivers coming from Germany and Switzerland.
Yes.
So, water is very important for us.
Yes.
And that it's smart to build this kind of project as an experiment.
Ton van Namen is the man responsible for building the majority of these floating homes, which ironically enough are relatively more flood-proof than their landlocked counterparts.
I can imagine with rising sea levels also, it's smart to be able to be dynamic and react to that. So these homes can actually float in relation to the rising levels of
rising level. Here it's only approximately 50 centimeters, but a couple of meters is also possible. The technology exactly the same.
So let's talk about the technology here. What I see is 2-story homes, but it looks like it's almost got a bit of a basement. How does the basement work?
The basement, it's a concrete basement. It's a cellar, more or less.
All right.
So you see 2 stories, but in reality there are 3 stories.
Okay, so semi-submerged almost.
Semi-submerged.
All the houses are built on concrete tanks floating beneath the surface. They work on the Archimedes principle, meaning that the amount of water you push away underneath determines the weight you can place on top, just like a ship.
So then I also noticed that there are kind of ducts that are coming in. That feels like it's the lifeline to provide the systems for the house.
Exactly, that's it.
Okay.
The lifelines are in the jetty. So we're talking about water, sewage, electricity, natural gas, cable television, internet, whatever you want.
With expanding populations, we're going to probably see more of these kind of floating structures in the future.
I fully agree. There are a lot of cities on the waterfront all over the world. I think 60% of the cities are on waterfront areas. There is a lot of water inside cities already, not used or hardly used.
Well, it certainly works like a community, and it feels very, very homely. I think there'll be a lot of people wanting to live on water, and to be able to moor their boats up a swell, I think it's a fantastically sustainable approach to living.
And even in summer they swim, and when the water is frozen over, they skate.
Well, look, I tell you, I'm not skating, and I just want to get into the warmth of a home, hopefully. Tom, thank you very much for this.
You're welcome.
Geology plays a fundamental role in the way that Amsterdammers live, work and play. After all, they're constantly under flood risk, whether it's from the River Rhine or through deluges of water from cloudbursts.
And these cloudbursts, extreme amounts of rainfall in a short period of time, are happening more and more often in Amsterdam. But the city has a plan to deal with all of this water. And Daniel Hoortbloed is the man with the plan.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So tell me how Amsterdam is preparing itself.
Well, one of the things is an initiative of Waternet. It's called the Amsterdam Rainproof Program.
Okay.
It's actually a program to actually make the city rainproof in future.
In 2011, a major downpour in the Danish capital of Copenhagen caused massive flooding. The devastation forced Amsterdam and its water company, Waternet, to rethink its municipal water systems to prevent a similar disaster. It had to be a smart makeover, Amsterdam style.
What we need to do is actually to change the whole city, the whole outside, the whole public space, but also the roofs, the gardens, the parks, more or less to transform them into a more sponge-like city
to hold the water so that there won't be any big damage or nuisance.
Tell me a bit more about the technologies that we have here then.
Well, this is one of the things we're really proud of in Amsterdam. This is actually called a polder roof.
Okay.
It's a green roof, of course. There is a lot going on here. There is vegetables growing.
Good to see.
There is a rooftop restaurant here. So they get the vegetables, the lettuce, the herbs, which they use in the kitchen. And in the same time, what we're also doing here is we're really holding back a lot of water.
Hidden beneath all that lush greenery is a crate system which retains water for the plants and cools the roof. And because the system is connected to the internet, it's smart enough to act when it predicts rain.
When there is a rainfall prediction, we can actually empty it, so there will be water storage on the roof available.
So I'm greatly encouraged by the initiatives that you're involved with. I mean, I can imagine seeing lots of green roofs out there in the future, but I've got to get back indoors, mate. It's so cold out here.
It's cold. Let's get a warm cup of coffee.
Sounds good. Or something stronger. Take rainwater, sustainable innovation, and throw in a bit of culture. What do you get? Beer? I'm in for a sustainable education in smart brewery. Translated from Dutch, Hemelswater means heaven's water. This divine brew is the brainchild of Joris Huber, a hobbyist beer brewer and firm believer of the circular economy.
So to me, circular economy is about reusing waste and also using what is abundance. So rainwater, for example, but also the waste from brewing the beer.
In the brewing process, wheat is ground down and added to the filtered rainwater. After bringing it to a boil, hops are added to impart the unique bitter taste. The beer is then chilled with yeast for 3 weeks in fermenting tanks.
The nice thing is that the waste of the wheats that have been kind of boiled, they also can be reused for animal feeding, but also for making bread.
So the byproducts of your production of the beer is also being used for other products down the line.
Yeah, and it's kind of upcycling your waste.
Great.
And there are examples of making plastic. So that's something we want to find out, if you can make plastic crates of the leftovers.
That's remarkable. So Joris, what do we have here? 2 bottles of beer and
beer. We use the same recipe, but the one is with the rainwater, the other one is with just Amsterdam drinking water, the tap water.
Okay. And so blind taste.
You have to close your eyes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, naturally it tastes brilliant anyway. My goodness, they both taste absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two. I will just say that this could be the rainwater beer, Hemelswater.
Why?
Purely because of the colour. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're wrong.
From all accounts, the smart city of Amsterdam isn't driven by one main force. It's well supported at the top by the government, but driven very much by bottom-up initiatives started by many different parties. And this is a key reason why I find this model so appealing. But I want to find out if others agree with me. And the first person on my list is Gerhard Schmidt, who founded the Future Cities Laboratory back home in Singapore. Hi Gerhard.
Hi Jason.
What makes Amsterdam an exemplary smart city?
Oh, Amsterdam. That's a great city by itself. It is a good example for smart cities because it's an old city, it's a very democratic city, and now it starts to combine technology with that tradition. So that makes it a very, very good combination. It is more interesting than cities who really start from scratch and who just want to be based on technology and want to make technological solutions to things. Amsterdam doesn't take these things too serious, so it's a very good balance between the human side and the technology side.
So what lessons can be learned from Amsterdam?
I think any city can learn from Amsterdam how to deal with technology in a relaxed way and not to overemphasize the reliance on technology. Because Amsterdam was a very good city without technology before it existed, without smart technology, but it will be even better in the future. So the important thing is that the population is in a very close dialogue with those people who decide to introduce this technology.
Always insightful, Gerhard. Thank you very much. Bye.
Along my smart city journey, I've toyed with a number of gadgets, spied on a couple of people, witnessed cities being built and rebuilt, and ultimately seen different facets of a smart city. So what have I learned from this series? Well, there's no real clear definition as to what a smart city is, because each city has their own particular take on that definition. So ultimately, as long as the technology forms the bedrock to enhance people's lives, surely that must be a good thing. But we mustn't forget about culture and the importance of putting people first. I'm Jason Pomeroy. I'm an architect, academic, urban planner, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. But until then, keep on enjoying smart cities.
Do you have any questions?
Здравствуйте. Когда вы говорили о достижении смарт-сити Барселоны, это и вы упомянули по поводу кризиса в Барселоне, мировом кризисе, это какой период был времени? Второй вопрос, сколько денег и времени требуется для достижения сегодняшнего уровня этих смарт-сити? Два вопроса. Второй вопрос. Третий вопрос, вот то, что упоминали в Амстердаме, использование дождевой.
I'm terribly sorry. I have to stop you there. I didn't catch the first question. It was a bad.
Okay.
Could we just go back to the first question, please? Can you, the first question, please?
When was crisis in Barcelona? When we said.
Okay. So the first question, the first question relating to the financial crisis was 2008. So it was the height of the global financial crisis. If we were to track from 1980 with the death of General Franco, there was a period between 1980 and 1990 where there was a need to try and activate the economy through tourism and leisure. And the government saw Barcelona as a catalyst for that tourism and leisure, which was part and parcel of why the Olympics was held there in 1992. And so large events like the Olympics, various expos in Seville, transformed the economy from tourism and a leisure perspective. And then it crashed again in 2008. Yeah. So I believe that was the first question. The second question was?
Второй вопрос был, оправдываются ли эти финансовые средства, в каком количестве они вкладываются и какое время требуется для достижения современного уровня Smart City, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, то, что говорили. Спасибо.
I think that the financial investment question is one that I can't answer right now, purely because I don't have those facts and figures to hand. And also the fact that the smart city interventions, whether they are in Bandung, Higashi Matsushima, Ahmedabad, Singapore, their interventions are all at different price points depending on their need. what we can say is that you find the first generation smart cities like Songdo, like Shenzhen, arguably like Singapore, as being very, very capital intensive structures and projects that will take 10 years. I say 10 years because Songdo, from start of concept design through to the implementation of phase 1, which was the international business district, was 10 years. I also say 10 years for the growth of individual companies like Tencent and DJI in Shenzhen. So it's interesting that this 10-year period is not just a physical growth of the city, but it's also an economic growth of some of these companies that actually are in those cities. On the flip side, you've got Bandung, which doesn't have much money and are doing this from a very, very economic point of view in engaging with the crowd, the people. The infrastructure cost of building a Bandung command center is just one building versus a city. So as an early approach to kind of engaging with the people, I would say that the Bandung episode that I showed yesterday would be a good starting point. Because for the investment in the technology and that one building to engage with the people's views, it forms that very important starting point, which is a conversation between the people and the government. But I would say that if I was to kind of list the order, Bandung first, because of the hackathons, think labs. This is very kind of community driven. This doesn't cost much. This can be held in your existing structures. This allows people to share their ideas, to generate new companies supported by academia, private sector, and state, to be able to kind of set up the hackathons, set up the think tanks. Then I would incorporate the command center. As a means of managing the big data and also sifting through comments from people. And this will basically allow people to engage with the government. So this is actually very, very small, not very capital intensive things. You're creating one building that has the technology and software to be able to kind of sift through trending topics like congestion, crime, flooding, whatever. And the people then think, the government is listening to me. They feel confident. And then when the government starts to support think tanks, labs, to encourage people to build their own businesses, that's good for the economy. So this is normally a 2-point
this point, we're going to start to see the economy start these individual companies. People are feeling happier. I'll then say that the next stage is looking at the transport infrastructure. I would seek to try and pedestrianise some of these, create green social spaces. Pedestrianisation and green space. And this is very much like Barcelona, where you start to surrender some of those existing streets to open green space for activities. You then, government and the people, through the think tanks, they can start to create events, festivities, festivals, so that it's good for the people to enjoy, enhancing happiness, and also bringing in tourists to visit Kazakhstan. The final stage, so this is basically, these issues are often related to a 3.0, but it's coming second. The third stage is more of the technology, but it's related to the infrastructure more. It's looking at green roofs, it's looking at renewable energy sources, solar and wind basically. Solar, wind, biomass. These things are often seen in a 3.0, so just give it the first. And I would say that the first stage, yes, this can be done in 2 years. This can be done in probably another 2 years. And the other one, whilst it sounds really kind of extreme, that could probably be done in 5 years. All within a 8-year period. So you might be kind of 1 year shorter than 10 years. But the benefit is that you guys will be completely accelerated to a 3.0 smart city. To go through 1 point. By employing this strategy, you're almost immediately getting into the sort of 3.0 smart city. I hope that answers yours.
Sense, спасибо.
When we talk about smart cities, this is first of all, everything is about smart people. Are people ready to live in smart cities? And the first question. And in comparison with other countries, for example, that you've shown in your slides, European countries and some European countries and some cities in China, in comparison with Kazakhstan, they're older, and Kazakhstan is a young country. And in your point of view, is it important for knowing the people who live in countries? Are people ready to start to live in smart cities? And why don't you use other ways of living in smart cities as separating trashes? So people, because it's really difficult to people to understand that this is important.
Quite a lot of questions there. Let me just try and answer one by one. The first one is whether people are ready to live in smart cities, right? People will be ready to live in smart cities as long as it doesn't alienate them. So, the problem, for instance, with Ahmedabad and the 100 city program of Prime Minister Modi in India is that people are not ready. The government are ready with their money, with their policies, with the big multinational corporation. But all the people need is water, electricity, and sanitation before they can even operate a smartphone. So in some places it's not ready yet, and it's actually difficult. What you need to ensure is that the technology and the policies that are implemented do not alienate people in society. It must be able to be good for the child as well as the elderly. Just imagine your elderly citizen trying to use a smartphone to be able to pay a council tax bill when they might be used to going to the council tax office to pay the bill. So unless the software and the technology is there to enhance people's lives as opposed to causing confusion, then great. And similarly, it needs to be good for everyone. So what's your second question?
In your point of view, people around the world, as we can see from your TV show, you've been in a lot of countries, are people different? Are people different who live in other countries?
They are different, and I would like to think that it is their own individual social and economic and cultural backgrounds that actually shape and form the cities that they have created. For me, the cool kid being Amsterdam, it's always been a very, very creative space, a very creative place, which is what makes Amsterdam such a vibrant, spontaneous, cosmopolitan city that has attracted many cultures from around the world. And yet, if you look at Japan in Higashi Matsushima, quite a sensitive, inward-looking culture, not so extroverted, not necessarily as individually creative. The culture can be represented by one common word, one common sentence, which is a proud nail, or a nail that sticks out of some wood, will always be hammered down.
I asked that.
And that's basically referring to the fact that they're a very, very communal, egalitarian focused society. And so in that case, it's very much about ensuring that the smart city is good for all, as opposed to the individual.
I asked that my last question. just because it was interesting for me. Is it feasible for using smart technologies everywhere? So you asked me almost. Thank you.
Any other questions? We have 5 minutes. Make the most of it. Because I'll be heading off to a distant land. Any other questions?
Добрый день, меня зовут Роман. Вот на том видео, где вы были в Амстердаме, на крышах домов, вот вы говорили, что воду только используют живую. И потом снова, когда идут досадки, ту старую воду куда ее девать? Называют на отеле или что-то делать. Спасибо.
So the water that is collected, thank you for the question. So first of all, the water percolates through the greenery, through the soil, and when the summer comes, water can be evaporated away. When it's winter, the water is drained through, collected. It is then passed through a first filter, which is used for irrigating the plants or used for flushing of toilets. What this means is that the rainwater is not discharged to the street. Otherwise, the rainwater discharged to the street would be collected in larger pipes underground, which, with increasing amounts of rainfall given climate change, the stormwater drainage capacities could potentially get a lot bigger, which will mean more civil engineering costs. So it's kind of a smart way to manage our civil engineering infrastructure at the ground level by not making pipes too big, and by thinking of the rooftop as an alternative means of water absorption. I think that answers your question. 2 minutes. Counter. Well, I guess it's been a very enjoyable experience for me to meet all of you. I thank you for your kind hospitality and for your engagement. You didn't fall asleep too much. And I do hope that if you have any questions, if you need some advice, if you need a design team, you can always come and find me. So please come and say hello at the end, or goodbye. And I wish you all the very best in your various smart city projects in the future. Good luck and all the best.
Джейсон, я бы хотела выразить, наверное, от всей группы слова благодарности. Спасибо, что вы участвовали сегодня, что вы нам дали определенные знания. Мы, конечно, может быть, в какой-то степени какие-то вещи знали, какие-то вещи понимали, но именно где, в каких городах и каким образом применяются, вы нам подробно все это довели. Желаю вам тоже, желаем вам тоже в дальнейшем больших творческих успехов, и, наверное, нам будет очень интересно и приятно, если когда-нибудь, с учетом того, что вы являетесь архитектором, какое-то здание в Казахстане будет построено благодаря вашим архитектурным способностям и умениям. Именно с применением смарт-технологий. Спасибо.
Spasiba. Spasiba. I would like that very much, and I would be a very silly man to think that I could show you something that is constantly new. I would be a very arrogant man if I would think that what I'm telling you, you do not know. My journeys around various different cities, whether that's for my research or for my show, makes me realise that the more I travel and the more I meet people like yourselves, how little I know and how remarkable the world is for us to learn even more. I've taken some wonderful lessons from this experience, and just like all of our projects, we always like to push the boundaries, whether it's creating the Silicon Valley of Indonesia for the President of Indonesia, through to an individual carbon zero home for an individual person. So I would like to accept that challenge and opportunity to design something special and remarkable for Kazakhstan, whether that's in Astana or Almaty or Shymkent or Turkestan. So yes, let's continue the conversation, because our buildings are green, innovative, evocative, and it may also be able to further put Kazakhstan on the map. So I thank you for your kind words.
Мы будем ждать вашу программу о Казахстане. И мы надеемся, что Казахстан в вашей душе оставит незабываемое и приятное впечатление.
Well, I already have, and I'm sure I'll continue. And what I find remarkable is that for centuries there has been this interesting divide between East and West. I would argue that the 21st century is actually Central Asia's century, because you have the benefit to look both sides. And myself, being half English, half Malaysian, I can appreciate the cultural sensitivities. So I think that almost designing something here would be like a homecoming, even though my home is actually England and Malaysia. So let's make that happen. Спасибо.
Спасибо.
Мы благодарим вас. Мы благодарим вас за время, не просто проведенное с нами, а проведенное с пользой. И я думаю, что спустя какой-то промежуток времени вы приедете сюда к нам, в Казахстан, и увидите, насколько изменились наши города. И я думаю, вы будете очень довольны, зная, что вы являетесь частью этих изменений, частью этих перемен. И Академия всегда очень гостеприимно относится к своим гостям. И у нас традиции всегда мы дарим на память о нас, о нашей стране, о нашем городе сувенир.
Спасибо.